Hi. All right, I'm going to go over the lessons today for Wednesday, December 9th. So we did our morning movement. We read Peanut Butter and Santa Claus, and then we got into math. And today in math, we went over 8.3, and it was using the area model and partial products to solve multiplication problems. And so, what that looked like is in the book, there was a problem, and it had us working with different colors and things on the different pieces. And with area model is very similar to the box method that we've been doing, but everything is drawn to size. So when we had let's say it was 87 times 32, and whenever we make our box, or I'm sorry, let me erase that. Let me write it out first. So this would be 80 plus 7, and this would be 30 plus 2. And so when you draw the box, this box right here is going to be pretty large. This one right here is going to be not as big. Oops, I made that too far. Oop, come on, eraser. Bring this over. All right, so that's not drawn to size, but you get the idea. They're drawn, so the biggest value would be this first one. So 8 times 3 is 24 with 2 zeros. So that box should be the biggest. And then this one would be 7 times 30, which is 21 with 1 zero. And then, so this one should be a lot smaller. And then this one, 8 times 2, this is 80 times 2. So 8 times 2 is 16 with 1 zero, and 14 should be the smallest box. So I didn't do the best job of representing those by their size, but hopefully you get the idea where this right here, this 80 times 30 needs to be the largest box because it's taking up the most area, or the most space. So I showed that, but we don't really practice that too much just because we're more concerned with making sure we get, and we'll revisit this once we get into area and perimeter. We'll revisit that. But right now, our main goal is making sure that we know how to multiply these and get the correct answer at the end. So we showed that, and I did show it to them because sometimes they will have questions where they'll need to understand where those numbers came from. But if they are very confident with that box model, then they'll be just fine with carrying over that information to the area model. So 87 times 32. So with the box, all right, here, let me do another one since I just answered that one. So let's do, and what am I going to do, area? So let's do 43 times 25. How about? So here, this is the first day that we've been doing 2-digit by 2-digit. So when you do this, you're going to take your 43, you're going to break it down. And so this is 40 plus 3 times 20 plus 5. Then you're going to make your box. And this needs to be more like a square, because you've got a large amount to write on top and on the side. So do it more like a square shape. And then you just want to make sure this 40 plus 3, this should add back up to the 43 here. And this 20 plus 5 should add back up to the 25 that you have there. Then wherever you have your plus sign, go ahead and draw your line down and your line across. And then here's where I'm going to draw what we're multiplying first just to show, and then I'll erase these. So if I'm in this box here, I'm going to look up at the 40 and look over to the 20, and I'm multiplying 40 times 20. If I'm in the next box right here, I'm looking up to the 3 and all the way over to the 20. So 3 times 20. If I'm in this bottom box here, I'm looking all the way up to the 40, all the way over to the 5. 40 times 5. If I'm in this last box, I'm going to look all the way up to the 3, all the way over to the 5. So I look, it's length times width. So I'm looking up at the length and then looking at the width, and I'm multiplying those together. So let me get rid of all that, and let's actually multiply them. So here, this first box was the 40 times 20. So 4 times 2 is 8. Add the 2 zeros. This box on the right was the 3 times 20. So 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 0. Bottom box, 40 times 5. 4 times 5 is 20 with 1 0. And 5 times 3 is 15. So now I'm going to add those up. So I know 800 and 200. I'm going to go ahead and do those in my head. I know that's 10 with 2 zeros, 1,000. And 60 and 15, I know in my head is 75. So that's 1075. So 1075. But what you're doing is you're adding up all these partial products. Okay. And then this is our answer there. And so the big thing with this one is just really making sure that from the beginning you break it down correctly, and then making sure that you're not mixing up everything that is here on this one line of this box. It has to stay together, because that's where this number 43 came from. We can't change our problem. Same thing with the 20 plus 5 right here. That's what 25 is. And so we couldn't, if we did like 20 plus 40 or something like that, we would be changing our problem. So we want to make sure that that we are lining up everything so that everything gets multiplied correctly. And what you're doing is, this is still um, what we talked about with the distributed property. It's just taking that distributed property and representing it in this box, but it's the same thing. So if you look here, you're doing, when you take 40, right here, 40, we multiplied 20 by 40, and we multiplied 40 and 5. So you're taking this first digit and you're multiplying it by everything here in this second parentheses. Then you're taking your 3 and you're going to you multiplied it by 20 and you multiplied it by 5. So here, 20 and times 5. So just taking each of these and multiplying them by each of these. And as you get higher and higher up in your math, then it starts looking more, you'll start representing it even more different ways. So it would be like, in parentheses here, 40 times 20 plus 40 times 5 plus 3 times 20 plus 3 times 5. So that distributed property is what we're doing there. Then we would multiply those all out to get our partial products, and then add up those partial products, and that would give us our complete product of what 43 times 25 equals. Alrighty, so we did some problems in the book practicing that 2-digit by 2-digit, and then students had in the agenda here, students had page 284, um, 6 through 11 to do, and then eSpark, and we did some practice problems today for small group, and then for reading, let me open up reading. So for reading, while it's here, the independent work that they did was in the Christmas Around the World. So today's Wednesday. So today they read Christmas in Germany. And they read this passage right here and answered these 5 questions about Germany. And then they had their read aloud where they're recording themselves reading here. And then with our informational text today, Um, we were at the Fourth Street Cafe. So yesterday we worked on the appetizers and we read Tracking My Trash. Today we had the main dish and we chose features fettuccine alfredo. And so it's talking about the different graphic features that we see in the article that we read. So this one was all about bugs for dinner. And so it's talking about how bugs are becoming this, really big business and how it's better for the environment and things like that. So we read this passage, and then after we read the passage, we went back and we looked at the features. So we looked at the photograph and the caption, this down here, this words to know, this map here where it's talking about where people are, what they like to eat around the world, and so on. And so it says, what we talked about is just, how those features help us as we're reading. How does it help us with our comprehension? How does it give us a better idea? When you read something, you are reading to understand. So how do these features help strengthen that and give you a better understanding of what the text is saying? So we talked about that, and then students did their independent work. And then in writing today, let's see where I have writing. There it is. So in writing, open up mine. All right, so let me start with the grammar part. So for Wednesday today, we're still talking about these interjections, and so this is using commas after the words yes and no, and so this is we started this yesterday, and the one today is we kind of had more free choice about how we responded. So it was asking a question, and then we would respond. And when we responded, we made sure that we were using a comma after the word yes or no at the beginning of the sentence. So, will you make my bed? And then the answer is no. So we put no, comma, making your bed is your chore. May I have some more oatmeal cookies? No, comma, you already ate all the cookies. So just making sure that we are doing that pause after the yeses and the nos at the beginning of that sentence there. Then we went to our prompt that we've been working on, and we continued working with the body. So the body is where you've got this is the meat and the cheese of that hamburger. This is where all the good stuff is. And so mine was explaining about what it's like to be a member of my family on Christmas Eve night. So my whole middle part of my story is me explaining what it's like. So when I talk about, how we give milk and cookies to Santa, I go into detail about what that means. I don't just say, we give milk and cookies to Santa. We go look at holiday lights. We open up a gift. That's not a very fun paper to read. It's severely lacking details. So just going in and, saying your reasons, but then just making sure that you're supporting it to give your reader a really good understanding of what it is that you are explaining. So students worked on that, and then we had some time to share the last 15 minutes where we got to see some examples of what students have been working on. And then for science today, we took notes on precipitation. And precipitation, get out of this. So precipitation is when we've got our liquid, I'm sorry, our, let me go here, I'll put it on here. All right, so precipitation, precipitation. All right, so precipitation is when you've got condensation. You had that to where it changed from a gas back to a liquid, and then when it gets so heavy, the cloud can't hold anymore. It releases it as either rain, snow, sleet, or hail. And so with these four, these all depend on the temperature. So if it's warm weather, I'll put W for warm, then the liquid is going to fall as rain. However, if it's colder temperatures, that's where you get, I'll put C for cold, that's where you get snow and sleet and hail. And with hail, you can have pieces that are really tiny in size, all the way up to big, huge baseballs. And so sleet is like really rainy. It's like rainy snow. It's kind of like what we get here if we ever get snow in Texas, in San Antonio. That's kind of more what we get. We don't get like the snow that you see, that you can really pack and make snowmen and, the kind that you see on the movies and stuff like that. That's not what we get. We get more, like sleet, where it's real wet. It doesn't stick very well, and it's really, once it starts melting, like it's just real watery and stuff like that. So we talked about that, and then students went and they did their coding on that part. So we went to Scratch, and then we let me open. So go to the folder and open up your project. And so we've got our clouds, and they can represent how they would like with the whether they want to represent it as rain, snow, sleet, or hail. Either one's fine. But just again, having that teaching piece. Precipitation is water that falls from clouds to Earth's surface. And so here's how, when I click R.
Precipitation is water that falls from clouds to Earth's surface.
That there is what's happening with my coding that I did for the speaking part of it. And then let's see, for P, I made it look like it's coming down raining. And so that's just one example of something you could do. This is the code to make that happen. And there's, kids were doing all kinds of stuff. They were making the rain fall. They were making the rain like flash, where they would hide it and then they would show it. So different ways to do it. And so we worked on that. And then for social studies, we went to Google Classroom, and we went to our week 16 up at the top and did our week 16 social studies with the Alamo. And so they did Wednesday's page, and Wednesday was 8, 9, and 10, and 11. So they were reading about Davy Crockett, which came from this article, and then this one, Susanna Dickinson had a second article. So this first one with Davy Crockett, it was talking about with him how there's this last question. There's a diary that was found that said how he died might not be what exactly happened. So historians um, are researching that and looking at that diary and trying to see if that's real and so on. And then while all the men at the Alamo were killed, Susanna Dickinson was one of the ladies. So they were told that the women and children that they were to spare their lives. So um, same thing with Susanna. There's a little bit of controversy about how exactly, you know, where she was and that kind of stuff. So, um, then here, a person who makes things from metal or iron. So, click on the links there and you can read all about that. And then today in intervention, today in intervention, we just kind of had a catch up day. Students had some math, and we went back and we looked at some of these previous weeks. So all we have left is we've got week 16, which is what we're in right now. We've got week 17, which is coming up, and then we'll be off on the 18th. And then that wraps this up. So we're getting down to the end of this 9 weeks. Oops. Getting down to the end of this 9 weeks. So we really need to make sure that these grades, we started with week 10. So when you go through week 10, if your clipboards look like mine, then that means the assignment wasn't turned in. You want those week 11, 12, 13, and so on. You want all of those to be grayed out so it doesn't show that you have that work due. So go ahead and make sure that that's getting done. And then tomorrow is already Thursday, so make sure the things that are in week 16 are getting ready to be wrapped up this Friday, and those will be shortly turned in as well. So make sure you've been working on all of this and your Seesaw activities as well. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.